Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up tonight on our news.
Former PLP Cabinet Minister Shane Gibson taken in for questioning. Tonight, we speak with one of his attorneys.
President of the Christian Council, Shelton Fernanda, responds to the government's decision to grant the organization Crown land.
Our news is brought to you by Alive, the nation's newest and best LTE network.
Good to be alive.
Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. I'm Morning 2. Topping news tonight, another former parliamentarian has been questioned by police. However, his attorney Wayne Monroe says it's unclear what his client is being questioned about. Kyle Joaquin has the details.
It's unclear whether the former cabinet minister could face charges on Thursday, but his attorney Wayne Monroe confirmed that Shane Gibson arrived at the Central Detective Unit Wednesday morning for questioning. Monroe did not accompany Gibson at CDU. Instead, an attorney from the law office of McKinney, Turner & Co. went in with the former cabinet minister.
I put it this way. In terms of evaluating law enforcement, it is unfortunate that the corruption unit has so quickly brought itself to the stage that they're not taken, by me anyway, as something that I would spend clients' time in attending on them. What you do when you arrive at this point is you assume that they're going to continue along the pattern that they have. And you just plan for the eventuality.
Monroe could not say what Gibson was being questioned about, only that he's certain there's no strong case that could be put against Gibson regarding his previous job as former National Insurance Minister or work done after Hurricane Matthew.
So the notable things I recall is when there was the talk about people getting paid to clean the same road over and over and over again, that there was a stop, review, and recalibrate on that. I remember that there were complaints about the speed at which things were being done. But apart from that, as far as I could understand it, he wasn't the substantive minister in the two ministries that featured, and he was an organizer basically to facilitate things happening.
Gibson is the latest former PLP MP to be taken into CDU for questioning. Former Environment Minister Kendra Dorset and former Public Hospitals Authority Chairman Frank Smith have both been charged on numerous counts of bribery, leading the opposition to dub the work of the new anti-corruption unit as a political witch hunt. Monroe has already come out saying he has his list of corrupt members of the FNM, but he said he's not doing this for fun, but only because it appears there's a new standard.
That has been changed, and the hurdles, the jumps you have to go on have been reduced greatly. By this new standard, behavior that was not scrutinized in the past would fall to be scrutinized.
And while he waits to see whether his client will be brought before the magistrate's court, Monroe said his plans for members of the FNM will have to commence.
Initially, I had contemplated, before having an encounter with them, that I would have faith in the corruption unit. Having had one encounter with them, having read of a second encounter with them, I don't have faith in them. So now we will have to do our own investigations. We may have to undertake our own prosecutions, because you can prosecute people other than the state prosecuting people.
But for now, all eyes are on the former cabinet minister and what happens with him.
So we will wait to see what happens with regard to Mr. Gibson, and we'll deal with it.
For our news, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
The Ministry of Tourism let go 9 employees in Grand Bahama yesterday, and the minister warns workforce reduction efforts aren't done yet as the ministry carries out a reorganization exercise. Here's Giorgio Bain.
Minister of Tourism Dionisio D'Aguilar confirmed that 9 persons have been dismissed from their office in Grand Bahama. D'Aguilar told Our News that those persons are a part of a group of 22 persons hired just weeks ahead of the 2017 general election. According to D'Aguilar, 22 people were added to tourism's workforce at an additional $250,000 in salaries. He called the cuts gut-wrenching.
1 month prior to the general election, 22 people were employed at an additional cost of $750,000. So it just makes no sense. I mean, we simply can't afford it. And while it's politically expedient a month to an election to do it, from a business standpoint, it just makes no sense. And so we can't with good conscience continue to operate this way. And it is gut-wrenching. Trust me, it's gut-wrenching.
Following reports of the layoffs, the ministry released a statement today announcing the Ministry of Tourism is currently undergoing a reorganization and strategic planning exercise to rationalize its activities and plans moving forward. After careful analysis of the budget for the fiscal 2017-2018 and review of the organizational structure, it is critical that we implement cost-cutting strategies within the Ministry of Tourism. The statement continued, unfortunately, a component of this plan is a workforce reduction strategy that must be executed as we strive towards creating a leaner and more streamlined and efficient organization. This difficult process includes reassignments, dissolution of certain departments, repatriations, retirement, and terminations. According to the minister, very little of the budget is available for overseas marketing, resulting in the ministry having to take drastic measures.
So more and more of our budget is being eaten up by adding headcount and adding offices. And what it has done is it has left very, very little dollars to actual market the destination. So it makes you've got this crazy situation where all of your budget is going towards paying your staff and paying your rent and paying your overhead. But you've got very, very little money to market. So I don't know how the Ministry of Tourism, unless it frees up marketing dollars, it's very difficult to market the destination.
Diagler says it's unfair for the previous administration to hire persons months ahead of the general election and says his ministry is trying to be as sensitive as possible.
I wouldn't say that every single person that was hired in the last month, I mean, some of them. And you also have to look and see what skill set you're looking for. I don't think any consideration was given to the needs of the ministry when these 22 people were hired. So it's just hire people. General election coming. And so, and we all know how it works. General election coming, you hire all these people, and it's just not responsible. I think it's really unfair to them to have done that.
Diagler says while change won't happen overnight for his ministry, it will happen.
The head count in the Ministry of Tourism over the last 5 years grew by 58%. It was very hard to absorb all of them. It won't happen overnight. You're not going to be realistic. You're not going to see in 6 months things get better. It's going to take time, and you've got to market, you've got to plant the seed, and people have to become interested, and you have to create, different things and interesting things for people to do, and it's all a process. You've got to start.
Reporting for our News, I'm Georgia Bain.
The United States' relationship with the Bahamas may be placed in jeopardy if the government of the Bahamas at one time or another decides to pursue a deal that would give China rights to fish in Bahamian waters, according to the chairman of the U.S. Subcommittee on Foreign Relations. Christina tells us why in this report.
The man nominated to be the next U.S. ambassador to the Bahamas, Doug Manchester, today telling a Senate subcommittee on foreign relations in the Western Hemisphere why he should be confirmed to the post and how he will further American interests in the Bahamas. Subcommittee Chairman Senator Marco Rubio using the opportunity to take a deeper dive into an issue that caused much contention locally and abroad last year, a proposed $2.1 billion China-Bahamas agri-fisheries project for Andros.
Late last year, it was reported that a Bahamian government official had unauthorized talks with China to lease its waters, the waters of the Bahamas, for commercial fishing to the Chinese. This, without a doubt, is concerning because Florida's shores are in close proximity, and while these talks did not yield an agreement, we remain concerned about the potential that Chinese commercial fishing vessels, which Beijing has used as a type of militia in the South China Sea, would be so close to U.S. waters and potentially involved now in dispute with American commercial and recreational fishing interests in what might be international waters or even Bahamian waters. If confirmed, have you given any thought to how we would approach this issue with the Bahamian government if that were to arise?
Back in November, then Agriculture and Marine Resources Minister V. Alfred Gray gave Bahamas ambassador to China, Paul Andy Gomez, approval to pursue the multi-billion-dollar proposal, describing it as a progressive initiative. The China-Bahamas proposal called for the incorporation of 100 companies to be owned 50-50 by Bahamians and Chinese, while also allowing fishing in Bahamian waters and farming in Andros. Then Prime Minister Perry Christie told Parliament that if the proposal came before his government, it would have been rejected outright, but not before concerns were raised locally and abroad. In response today, Ambassador nominee Manchester said this.
Well, I really do believe that the presence of Homeland Security and our Coast Guard off the shore and all of what we're doing to protect the Bahamas really needs to be continually emphasized to the Bahamian government, even though China has in fact made a significant economic contribution to the Commonwealth of the Bahamas in the form of hotels, resorts, and so on and so forth, that we just need to encourage more business from America to be there.
Rubio, however, stressed his concerns over the relationship between the U.S. and the Bahamas being put in jeopardy if the Bahamian government decides to make such a deal with China in the future.
These things you pointed to, security, cooperation, tourism, economic interrelations, medical school, economic contributions, all of these things would be endangered if at any point in the future, and I'm not saying that it's going to happen, and it's certainly not a threat, but it's just the reality. If at any point in the future the Bahamian government considered leasing its waters for commercial fishing to the Chinese at the expense of the United States, so close to our shores, I think that would most certainly have a very negative impact on our relations with them.
Manchester told the committee that if confirmed, he is eager to work with this new administration.
It's a new government down there. It was a new beginning. I salute their democracy that they've recently had a great election and new people are coming into power, and it looks, according to all of the people that I've talked to, including our chargés and our existing embassy staff down there, that it really looks bright. And as I say, the greater America becomes, the greater benefit it'll be for the Bahamas.
Manchester also pledged to work on U.S. citizen services, U.S. investment in the Bahamas, as well as crime and narcotics trafficking. The subcommittee will meet again before a vote is taken on Manchester's nomination. Reporting for our News, I'm Christina McNeil.
1 week after the Court of Appeal ordered a retrial for Donna Vassili, a trial date of January 29, 2018 has been set. Vassili was convicted in October 2015 of the murder of her husband, Australian podiatrist Philip Vassili. She appeared in the Supreme Court before Justice Bernard Turner today seeking bail, but will have to return in the morning. Her attorney, Muriel DeCille, spoke with reporters outside court.
She has nowhere to go. The Bahamas is her home. She has made it clear that she's ready, willing, and able to face her accusers, and she has nothing to do but to show up for a trial or retrial if and when it comes.
President of the Bahamas Christian Council, Shelton Fernanda, is denying council executives asked the Prime Minister for Crown land. Fernanda says he was disappointed by Press Secretary Anthony Ubol's recent comments, which Fernanda claims made it seem like the church was begging for land. Jasmine Brown has his candid comments in this report.
The Christian Council chief acknowledged that recent meeting with the minister administration, but his story differs from Newbol's, as he insisted the church did not beg for anything. During his weekly press briefing on Tuesday, Newbold told reporters that the Prime Minister met with the Christian Council last week and committed to providing Crown land for the council to build proper headquarters. When asked what prompted Min's decision, Newbold said he guessed the council just asked for it, adding the Prime Minister is a churchman. Fernanda says he was shocked to hear Newbold's version of events, insisting that's not what happened in that meeting.
Let me emphatically say how that went. At the end of the meeting, we mentioned, one of my vice president would have mentioned, that Crown land was given under the leadership of C.B. Moss some 20 plus years ago. Dolphin Drive. So those who remember, nearly all NGOs were given Crown Land, Boys Brigade, Girls Brigade, Christian Council was numbered in that. We don't know where the land is. And so we were simply asking the Prime Minister if they could identify the land, show us it, and whatever needs to be done so that we could action a headquarters on that.
Fernanda maintained that the BCC didn't ask anyone for anything. He accused the government of making the church look bad.
But you see how it was reported was to kind of nullify the voice of the church. Well, they came to us and they were begging. It wasn't so. We were simply asking for them to clarify where this land is, if it's still enacted, and so that we can start knowing how we're going to build on that land. You see, if the church is perceived in you know, one of the things we like to do to pastors and church leaders, so we have serious issues. See, the first thing they came to talk to us about was land. And so it makes the church be perceived that we're always begging for something. And it carries this message that, see, all they're about is things and money. Please. Disappointed by that? Very, very. I don't know if it was intentional or unintentional, and that's as far as I could go. Hopefully the message just came out wrong.
Fernanda says they are still unsure where that land is and if it is indeed located on Dolphin Drive. When asked if the Christian Council is still interested in acquiring the land, its president said yes.
We need to build a headquarters. Ecumenical councils around the world, headed in Geneva, all have headquarters. We met with the UN last week, where I had a press conference. The UN came to eradicate AIDS in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. That should have happened in a national headquarters.
Reporting for our News, I'm Jasmine Brown.
And still to come on our news, the Christian Council slams national lottery talk, so stick around.